That's it. It's the power trip. It's the sex. It's the money. It's the drugs. But more importantly, they've got a lot of ideologues. You know, we can't forget in this whole thing Christian Zionists. And for those that don't know, that's separate from Israel. You've got Christians like, and she at least manipulates this point. I don't think she really believes it. The beauty queen Sarah Palin, who says we've got to basically cause World War III to make Jesus come back. And they hate Muslims so much that the argument is, you don't understand how dangerous these 100 million Muslims are. If we don't stage these events, we won't get the backbone we need to go out and beat these people. But then, meanwhile, the same government brings in record numbers of them. If they're so bad, why are they doing that? So, but I want you to comment on this. But then expanding on that, their argument of, well, I mean, that goes back to generals 2,000, 3,000 years ago would say, send in 500 cavalry to lead out the main enemy force of 5,000. We know our cavalry, this small contingent, will be wiped out, but that's sacrificing a pawn in a chess game. And so the rationale is, hey, we killed 3,000, but we save America. But that's another con game, even if you were Machiavellian and bought into this, because that's not really what they're even doing.
Well, the thing with the Arabs and the Muslims is that in most of the world, their countries are very poor, and they're fixated on trying to stay alive and get enough to eat and get enough to drink. And I don't really think that they're interested in world revolution or killing every American citizen in the United States. The Muslims I've met are remarkably pleasant, solid pillars of the community. But the Americans demonized them. And by their attacks around the world, they're pushing them steadily to the radical side, saying, well, you know, these people are killing us, these good Christians who believe in Jesus and the Ten Commandments, including the one about thou shalt not kill. They're, by and large, trying to destroy us and our way of life.
But it's worse than that. As you know, you're an educated man, but for those that may not, my film Terror Storm covers it. The Muslims want to be secular. They invented most of the math we have. Our alphabet is Arabic. I mean, if the Arabs are so bad, folks, this is Arabic writing right here. I mean, you know, I mean, this is the the ancient alphabet.
Yeah.
And you know what we use, or we be using Roman numerals. The point is that they over and over again in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, in Iran, everywhere use radical Muslims to overthrow secular governments because they don't want first world nations that can have an equal standing. And this is a tool of literal imperialism, of neocolonialism.
Yeah. The United States supports repressive right-wing regimes in Egypt and in Saudi Arabia, for example. It's the United States that creates a situation in which there are 2 million or more internally displaced Iraqis, another 2 million or more refugees, mostly in the Middle East, and then refuses to let the people who work for the American government in Iraq come to the United States. And the few that make it here, they're given the back of Uncle Sam's hand.
Well, when you don't care about killing, when you don't care about morals, you are very powerful.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any rules. And look at the genius of the Hegelian dialectic they use. And this has been declassified. The British really mastered this 200 years ago. And I want you to comment on this, Mr. Springman. They fund radical Muslims, and that's come out for 60 years. They give them radical textbooks. They fund the madrasas. The State Department does. They then use them to overthrow those governments. Then they get to even use those radical Muslims to then menace America, so we become a police state. I mean, they use both sides of it. It's pure genius.
Yeah, I mean, it's fear. As long as you're afraid of something and you're terrified of something, you'll do anything to save yourself from the evil enemy. And it's absolutely astonishing. I had a German peace activist once tell me that he could see Gandhi standing up to the British in India doing a peaceful, nonviolent revolution, but he said that he was convinced that if they tried this in the Nazi period, Adolf would have them all killed. So that you're right. Repression. You can do anything you want because you have power and you simply want to kill people, and if you do so, you have the upper hand.
Well, for those that don't know, the czars stayed in power for over 400 years, staging terror attacks. They did it every week, and they'd arrest everybody and arrest their own police and say they did it. Hitler really came to power, got full power, February 27th, 1933, with the Reichstag. He launched World War II against Poland by attacking his own base at Gleiwitz. And it's the same. I mean, I remember 3 years ago, it got a 2004 Army manual for Special Forces captains in the Army. This is on WikiLeaks. The government admits it's real and says they want to prosecute whoever released it. Teaches Army captains how to stage terror attacks. I mean, my God, they're training armies of terrorists. I mean, there are Army captains listening right now who were trained how to stage terror. How? I mean, is that how you win? And what are you fighting for? America's being destroyed.
They keep arguing that America is this city on the hill. It's the last great hope of the world. It's this, it's that, and the other thing. And all I can see is that the Constitution doesn't exist. The principles on which the country was founded have been rejected by the government, and they simply want to stay in power and will do anything and say anything to keep things going the way they are.
But the world is waking up. The average American's starting to wake up, but not fast enough. But the world's a lot more awake than our average Super Bowl watching potato head.
Yeah, unfortunately. But it's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely terrifying. It's absolutely depressing.
Go ahead.
The Americans, you have a peace demonstration, and you have more people in a snowball fight in DuPont Circle than you do in a demonstration about justice for Palestine or for ending the war in Iraq or anything else. And, you have a couple of hundred people, whereas a snowball fight can have a couple of thousand.
And then still a crazy cop shows up and waves a gun at him. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. And that's the good old D.C., the state of confusion.
And expanding on that, the reason you only have a few hundred people at the G20 is the police came out and attacked anyone on the streets.
Yeah.
And in Denver, in Canada 2 years ago, everywhere, the police dress up like anarchists to beat people up on the news, to demonize all protesters. You know what, Mr. Springman, we had you for a full hour, but I was going to have a little bit shorter. Let's do 5 more minutes on any other tidbits or thoughts you haven't made here on the record to several million people that are listening. Any websites you want to fire out? And just, I guess all we can do is tell the truth, lay it out, and it is having some success, but not fast enough. We'll be right back with Mike Springman. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones.